and thanks for joining us for Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration. I'm your host, Alexis Avila, educator, online entrepreneur, and founder of tutoring and test prep firm Prepped and Polished, broadcasting today from South Natick, Massachusetts. Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration is your destination for groundbreaking insight from today's most influential educators, leaders, and minds on the planet. Our show is brought to you today by Wilsey Connections. My friend Pam Wilsey is a psychologist and rolled out a new program for graduating seniors called Freshman 2.0 College Bound to help ease the transition to college. Check out Wilsey Connections for more info. Our show is also brought to you today by Plan for College Videos. College planning expert Paul Hemphill has a wonderful series of college planning videos, over about 100 of them. His videos ask all the questions with answers that parents don't know to ask. Parents don't know what they don't know, and the frustration ends with his videos. To learn more, go to planning-for-college.com/videos. And get to know the Prepped and Polished community. You can find us on Facebook at Prepped and Polished, as well as on Twitter at Prepped Polished. And thank you for everyone for tuning in today. Joining our show today is Jodi Okun. Jodi is a financial aid expert and founder of College Financial Aid Advisors. She worked as a senior assistant director of financial aid at Occidental College, and over the past 10 years has helped thousands of families navigate the financial aid process. Jodi is a frequent columnist for Huffington Post, and each Thursday evening hosts a weekly Twitter chat, #CollegeCash. Jodi, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me from the best coast, the west coast, all the way to the east coast, huh?
There you go. There you go. We could use a little sunshine, actually.
I'll send it your way.
So Jodi, a little warm up. You live in sunny California.
I do.
And I think at one point we were going back and forth about you running on the beach. So did you get your run in this morning?
I did. I got my run in this morning. I live in a little town called Seal Beach, where we have like a main street and we have our own pier. So I do, one of my hobbies is definitely running every day outside, just trying to be outside in the fresh air. So, got my run in.
Nice.
Good for the brain, you know?
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from.
So I'm originally from Chicago, Illinois, and I moved to California right after high school, and I went to college in California. We're going way back. I am living in Seal Beach my whole life in California, so the rest of my adult life, married with 2 adult children. I started financial aid about 10 years ago. I took a class at UCLA in financial aid, and the teacher of my class is actually the director at Occidental College. So that's kind of how I got started. Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha. So let's just backtrack just a little bit, because we have teens who listen to the show. But what were you like as a teen?
What was I like as a teen? I was shy. I was introverted. I was definitely a planner, organizer. And at the time that I was done with high school, I decided, you know what, I think I need to go to another coast and see what it's like. Not everything is like it is in the Midwest, and tried to decide between New York and California, and I decided I hate the cold. I don't like putting boots and mittens on, and so sunny California, here I come, and I've been here ever since.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And who were some of your influences growing up?
Some of my influencers growing up, I definitely was really into more of places than actual people. So education was always something really big for me. So always, kind of drifting off towards schools, universities, high schools, really into sports, football. I'm a big football fan, basketball fan. So I'm definitely that kind of school spirit kind of girl, even though I wasn't pretty involved in that kind of thing.
Awesome. Okay, so let's jump forward a little bit, and can you tell us about what motivated you to get into the world of financial aid?
Yeah, so like I said, I raised 2 kids. It was time to refocus, and I'd been volunteering and participating in education during their growing up years, and so I decided to take all of the skills that I liked, which was leadership, management. I'm a numbers girl, and combine those into a new career. And like I said earlier, I took a class at UCLA, and the teacher of my class, Maureen, who's the current director at Occidental College, was teaching the class. And I called her up one day and I said, hey, Maureen, I'm in the neighborhood, which Pasadena is not in the same neighborhood as Seal Beach, if any of you know. How about some coffee? And so she said, sure. And so I drove to Oxy, and I met with her, and I said, I have this great idea. I love financial aid. I love giving students the opportunity for post-secondary education to fulfill their college dreams. But I feel like there's a disconnect between high schools and financial aid and colleges and financial aid. Would you hire me and teach me everything you know? And then while I work here, I would help families privately navigate the financial aid process. And she said yes. And so for the first year, I mentored, with her and shadowed her and learned all the ins and outs about the financial office from every position you can imagine. And then as the years went on, I began consulting, helping with incoming students, helping with continuing students, helping with transfer students, grants, and doing all aspects of financial aid on the inside perspective. And so I have this inside vision of how it looks to families. And then I also began my practice of college financial aid advisors, where I'm helping families knowing about being on the inside of college, how to navigate the financial aid process, and what to look for, and how to fill out, and maybe what are the misconceptions out there, and be that person that they can go to ask those questions that they're either shy or embarrassed or don't even know what to ask. So I started at Oxy and was promoted a couple different times. And then I also took the advantage of going to Pitzer College. So I've been at Pitzer for a couple years, working in their financial aid office and helping the director over there, Robin, through when she got promoted to director, helping her in the beginning, and then helping her on and off as we go through the seasons now. So I have both liberal arts education experience, financial aid, and a lot of institutional methodology experience that I bring to my families.
Wow, that's amazing. I love just the inside expertise that you bring to the table. It does make such a difference. So on your website, collegefinancialaidadvisors.com, you mentioned that you wanted to start a financial aid company. And you mentioned this a little bit, so parents can feel comfortable and talk about things that are uncomfortable for them. What do you find that parents are most uncomfortable about?
I think they're uncomfortable because they didn't know when their student was going to be a high school senior that this was all going to happen in this way, that it would be it's very blown up. So there's this whole admissions piece and this financial aid piece, and they didn't know how much they needed to save, and they didn't know that life might have taken a turn for them in one way or another, and they have no idea where to start and how to break it down. And they're just at a loss, probably from different aspects. One, they're getting a lot of media information. 2, maybe technology. Maybe they're not up to par with the whole technology piece. And 3, maybe they haven't communicated to their student about the financial literacy about their own family. So talking to their kids what they can afford, what they can't afford, and having that open dialogue because they don't want to talk about it themselves. So it's hard for them to talk about it with their student.
Wow. And now college costs are on the rise.
Right.
I'm assuming everyone knows that. But
yes.
What do you tell like those anxious families who just come into your office in a panic because they don't think they can afford college?
So my first piece of advice is the first thing parents should be doing is getting on those net price calculators that all the colleges are regulated to have. Because that they can do in the quiet of their own home, on their own time, after dinner, whenever they want to do it, to figure out what their family's making, what assets they have, if they even have any, and what that college is going to cost them. Now, that figure isn't going to be the exact figure. It's going to be like, I always call it a ballpark. Don't say that it's like the figure, but it's a ballpark figure. Mm-hmm. And once they can kind of judge what they can afford or what they're willing to afford, then they need to work backwards maybe, and find out, aside from fit and whether their student's even going to get in there, what's this going to be for us for a 4-year plan? And my favorite thing is that I love to talk to parents about is, have those dining room tables or kitchen table dinner conversations a lot, maybe starting in 7th grade.
Oh.
Really being open about, this is how much we have. We're not really willing to go into debt, or are we willing to take out loans, so that the student isn't disappointed at the end because they've worked so hard and now all of a sudden mom and dad are saying, really can't swing that. So do your homework ahead of time.
I love that. I mean, I would have never known to, start that early, but it makes so much sense.
Right. So they can plan to apply to the right schools.
Absolutely. Now, do you find that anyone can find enough financial aid to help make college more affordable? Are
you talking about free money? Free
well,
money, no. Free money, no. The answer to that is no. There is not enough free money that is offered to give that student maybe what you used to hear about, a full ride.
Right.
So financial aid is made up of 3 parts. There's a grant scholarship part, so that's the free money part. And then there's the work study part. So if a family is eligible for work study, maybe that student gets a job on campus and maybe they can earn about $2,000. But that misconception is that gets taken off tuition, which it doesn't. And then there's the loan piece. So when combining all 3 of those pieces, you can get up to full cost of tuition.
Wow.
But you're not getting, that maybe misconception of, that you're getting, $60,000 of free money that you don't have to pay back.
Right. Now that work study, I can vouch for that because in grad school, that's pretty much what paid for my grad school.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a great way for a student to be connected to their university, to have a mentor maybe on their university that, they're in a new setting that can help them. And then it helps with their books, supplies, maybe transportation. So it's great expenses if they're eligible and they can receive that. But the other thing I want to say, too, is if a student doesn't get work study, it doesn't mean that they really can't get a job on campus. College is not like high school where you don't go 8 to 2 or 8 to 3. You have classes different days. So you are able to work and build your resume so that maybe it's driving towards your career objective. And then when you graduate, the day that you graduate, you have a great resume if you've spent 4 years either interning or taking on jobs that can make you, a better candidate during that interview.
It's so helpful to hear this because it just sounds like you get so much more from you. What you're offering them is more like, it's also college guidance, like how to survive in college.
Yeah, just, I try to make it, I try to make it full circle. I definitely don't do anything that has to do with admissions, but I really want parents to be educated and to go in. My favorite saying is that, we want parents to open all the doors and have their students have all the doors open, that they've done everything they can, and the colleges are going to close them. Either they won't get in, or they won't get the money they need, or something's going to happen. But if they've done their work and all the doors are open, then they won't ever look back and say, darn, I wish I would have done that.
No regrets. Absolutely.
No regrets. Mm-hmm.
So, Jodi, tell us, for the listeners out there, Jodi's actually a Twitter star. So can you tell us about your weekly Thursday Twitter show, College Cash? And then first, when starting a show, why did you choose to use Twitter as the platform to host your show?
Okay, so College Financial Aid Advisors, we'd been in business, several years, and all of a sudden I got this grandiose idea that we were going to open a social media department. When I say we, me, myself, and I. So I decided I was going to do that. So from Boston to LA, I read a book on how to be a social media person. Read the book the whole way through. When I got back to the office, I learned every platform I could in social media, and Twitter was by far the key, from what I had read, to engage with potential families, with people that you don't know, where Facebook is mostly your friends, LinkedIn is mostly business. So I went on that avenue. I created a hashtag, which is College Cash, and I started College Cash on Thursday nights, which still is on Thursday nights, but I started with the premise that we were going to talk about financial aid. And what happened was, it's pretty funny, what happened was, it gets kind of boring. When you talk about financial aid more than 4 nights a month, it got kind of boring. So I decided, and I was only talking to industry professionals that were within the financial aid industry. So what I decided was, I bet there's all these social media gurus out there, or social media influencers, who are aunts or grandmas or cousins or mothers or daughters or husbands who have kids who are going to college. So why not tap into that market and bring them a place where I can bring them into it and, like you said, give the whole college process full circle. So we're not just talking about financial aid. Like tonight we're talking about internships. And we've talked about social media in the past and how to do social media, or what to do about your dorm, or we've talked about ACT or SAT, or we've talked about loans. We've talked about admissions. So for 52 weeks, we are bringing so much information to parents that they can tune in and get everything they need to know in about an hour. And because it's so niche-oriented, it took off. So Twitter is my home base, yeah.
That's incredible. And what do you... I had a question while you were talking about that, but do families work with you remotely?
Families do work with me remotely, so I work with families either here in my community, in my state, or I have families in Florida and Massachusetts and New York, so we all work remotely, and we get together either on phone, Skype, we use sites like join.me, everything that we can to be very tech savvy.
Perfect. What do you love most about what you do, Jodi?
I love kids going to college. I love them getting into the college of their dreams. I love seeing their eyes. I love them buying a T-shirt. I love when parents are involved in the process and they get it. And when they graduate high school and they've accomplished this, they've worked so hard to go to this college, and then they're going. And so I love that next chapter in their life, and that, if at all I helped at all to get to them to their next chapter in their next journey, warms my heart.
Awesome. So the bridge from teenage years to young adulthood is a tricky age. Do you have any advice for a teen who might be struggling during this time? What one piece of advice would you give to him or her?
My one piece of advice would be If you're in high school, it's just 4 years. These are just 4
Okay.
years. Try to be sincere with yourself. Try to recognize who you are and be authentic and come from an organic place. And remember that this is just one part, and there's so many more parts to the journey.
Awesome. You also advise aspiring financial aid advisors. Can you tell us a little bit about your 8-week certification program that you put together for those who might want a career as a financial aid advisor?
Yeah, I'd love to. So just like what my mentor Maureen did for me, which was, teach me everything she knows, and we think that financial aid is, I shouldn't speak for her, but, financial aid is huge for us. So I wanted to give that to other consultants or maybe financial planners who already have an existing business. Maybe they just do the admissions piece, or maybe there's a financial planner who helps families with, their assets, and they need to add this financial component to their company. Or maybe you do what I did, which was just start from the ground up, and I just opened a financial aid office and really worked on helping families. So in this 8-week program, I teach the advisors that I have exactly what I do here. Not only do I teach them about financial aid, but I teach them how to run a small business and how to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
I also add certain things to the company that isn't just what financial aid is. I teach them about social media and how to get the word out and how to do your marketing in social media. And I think that that's what brings our company to the forefront, because we've created this social media, and I also bring them onto my website. I highlight them so
Nice.
that they can get the benefits that I can bring to them with the followers that I have, and it can be tenfold. So it's just about giving back as an entrepreneur and helping another entrepreneur, which I love.
Wow, that's really generous of you. How can we find you, Jodi? Work with you? Please plug yourself.
Okay, great. My website is collegefinancialaidadvisors.com, so definitely check out my website. And everyone can connect with me on Twitter, so I'm at JODIOKUN. I tweet all day, I tweet all night, all weekend, so definitely look for me there. Those are the best places, and I look forward to connecting.
That's awesome. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you coming on. And
thank you so much. It was great chatting, and I'm sure I'll see you around.
Awesome. Okay, well, this wraps up our show today with Jodi Okun, financial aid expert and founder of College Financial Aid Advisors. To learn more about Jodi and enroll into one of her incredible programs, then please visit collegefinancialaidadvisors.com. Thank you for joining us on Prepped and Polished Education and Inspiration.